The girl takes aim and then a shot is fired. The target was eliminated. It was Leonard. He was 35 years old. He was a member of the Joint Council. You think this will all end with him? This act that was supposed to strengthen their control of the government. But instead, it will eventually lead to his downfall. And from its ashes, a new state will rise. A boy and a girl run up to the boy. They were the voices of Brutus and Maria. They were the ones he loved. He was relieved that he would die in their arms. Guess he couldn't keep his promise to see the world change together. Instead of trying to solve the world's problems, they made empty promises and stole from those who believed in them. They implemented their system in schools to pollute people's minds. They taught everyone that they were the representatives, their protectors, their rescuers. I would have believed it myself if I hadn't seen closed shops, dirty parks, overcrowded orphanages. They made such a strong web that nothing could ever seem to break through it. Why should they help those who hurt them? To work for them, pay them and thank them. As the years passed, I worked hard, studied and learned to lie through my teeth. To defeat the monsters, I became one of them. But instead of feeding on the weak, I vowed to protect them by devouring the predators. Brutus and Maria were the first to follow, and in time others joined them. My followers grew and grew as I proved myself a speaker. They tried to invite him into their ranks, but he refused to comply. By the time they realized what a threat he was, it was too late. Their web was broken. People realized what was happening. As a last resort, the tyrants hired an assassin to kill their enemy. He felt his life slipping away. Thank you, Herm. What? What's that nightmare noise? Herm? Wake up. Are you all right? She hit him and said, if you scream again, I'll hit him harder. Yes, sister answered him. It's not my body. Who am I? Where am I? And why did he call her sister? Herm, what's wrong? You're scaring me, she answered. Should I call a healer? All right, all right. He realized her name was Gauza and he was her older brother Herm. Are we scarecrows or goblins? The scarecrows were the weakest race, even goblins command them. They were clever, but that is very important in this world. The tribes of Herm were enslaved and forced to work in the mines in the middle of a war between goblins and kobolds. Now the tribe is risking their lives for small pennies in magical caves known to be home to monsters, magical ores, and treasures created in the Age of the Gods. Herm and his sister were a species of scarecrow with great magical talent. Though in the past they were respected for their powers, the Reborn once tried to use their powers to rule over other scarecrows. Failing the coup, they were forbidden to use magic, and their prowess faded with time. Now they were as low as possible. Rubbish amongst the rubbish. It was a nightmare. This world. This environment. They can't exist. His sister wanted to call a medic, but his brother said he was fine. It would be so disrespectful of us to bother someone for such a trifle. Sighs, all right. Just please don't scream like that ever again, because I'm starting to panic. Now get up. We have to go. Go? Why? You've been here long enough and we don't have enough credit. You were dead when the tunnel collapsed. Thank goodness we had enough credit to save you in the first place. Merit? What's that? To keep them under control, the wardens invented the merit system. Even if he earns enough merit, he can only buy the basics. Worst quality stuff. The guy thought he was going to hell. Maybe now I will open my eyes and all this will disappear. Maybe it's all just a dream. It didn't. Looks like it's not a dream. Why are you crying? What's wrong? My sister asked. Don't touch me, he answered. The warden comes and says, why are they still here? Have the wretches calmed down yet? That was Healer Rog. You brats think my hospital is an inn? In that case, I'll have to serve you accordingly. How much money do you have? The brother said, "We've been waiting for you to show our gratitude. I would have died without your great skill. Words cannot express how happy I am." "Oh, wow. I see the stones have set your mind right." "Yeah. We also stopped to give you this as a token of our gratitude. That's barely enough. Now get out of here. I have other things to do," he said. "You can come here as long as you have money." "What was that show of gratitude and resignation?" my sister asked. "If I hadn't done what I did, we would have lost everything." "You wanted to eat this week, didn't you?" "Of course, but you've never put yourself down like that before." Maybe the stones have really straightened him out. It's like he's a different person now. And then a girl runs up to them and says she's been looking for them for a long time. What's the matter? Why wasn't she at work? Cool sent her to warn her that he and his buddies are looking for Herm. What? Why would he want her brother? Jerk's brother caused the collapse. But he blames me? Yeah, the girl answered. That's not fair. Herm almost got himself killed. She said she had to go now and that you two were in danger if you were seen. If they get home they will be safe, my brother asked. Yes, our cave is near the warders. They won't make any trouble for sure. Then the path will have to be shortened, brother said. However, they could have searched on the direct routes. Is there any other way to get home? I don't think so, but there were forbidden caves, but no one was allowed to go there alone. I will not go alone, I will be with you, he said. He also added that when you are in trouble always take the more interesting paths, his old teacher would say. She didn't understand which teacher. Never mind, he replied, and they went. So why no one is allowed to go here, he did not understand. Sometimes monsters came here from the lower levels, and they had to be more careful. They used crystals in the main areas, but here the moss itself emitted enough light to see everything. It was very surprising. Suddenly he heard a smell and he didn't understand what it was. His sister said that it was acid pits and that he should not come close. Have you been here before? He asked her. She said that one day she had come with a work party to throw away the rubbish. Suddenly they saw a very huge creature. They realized it was blind. It was trying to detect them by sound or smell. They ran away and hoped they had gone far enough. It was a good thing it got away just a little more and they would have been dead. They did not know if this road led home. They wanted to follow the footsteps they had left earlier. Suddenly they heard sounds. Someone else was here. They had to warn them about the monster before it attacked them, said the sister, and ran. The brother ran after her. It was them. They grabbed him. He told them that if they killed him, they would be sorry. Told them to send one of your men deep into the cave. And to be quiet if he wanted to live. They didn't believe him. He said he wasn't the cause of the monster, yours was. Before he could speak, they started beating him. And then they saw that there was a giant centipede, and they said we had to get out of here. They said they had to tell the watchers. Herm said, why let someone else take the payment for killing this monster? How much did the team that killed the last such monster get paid? He was told that the heavenly servant was rewarded with 2,000 for his noble deeds. Hear that? These monsters are a gold mine. And you want to let them go? He said these centipedes are blind and they navigate by sound, but their weapons couldn't penetrate their thick armor. The only thing to do was to lure it to the acid pit and try to penetrate its armor. The centipedes were faster than them, and if they tried to run away she would catch them quickly. He said they weren't going to run away from him. They would spread out along the tunnel and take turns throwing dice to get her attention. Then he will follow the sound until he hits the hole. They said it was a good plan, but someone would have to lure her into the pit because she wouldn't go in by herself. They said it would be a job for Herm because it was his plan. The nurse said he was hurt and he wouldn't run away from her. But he said he would do it and it would be okay. Will you help me shut the door when I get back? He smiled. Of course. Trust me. My sister didn't understand what he was doing. He was going to kill him. He said he's gonna try and he's got an idea. If things get bad, we should just run away. How will she know it's bad? He said he would scream. Started telling Saf to get him into the tunnel and throw the ball. When he got close enough to throw the dice in front of him to follow the sound, he was afraid to do it and said he was so fast and for him to prove it. After you throw the dice, run to the glowing moss. He's blind so he won't see you. Once he's gone, stay put until you hear the command OK. He scratched his head and told them not to worry, and when he was in place he would proceed as planned. They were to stand under or near patches of moss so you could observe but not make any noise, and they were to stay still. Jerk was to stand next to the crystal by the bend. They would take him to the acid pits and then lure him inside. Jerk was to help lock him in there. Not a bad plan for an idiot, he said. Just make sure you're close enough to get a jump on him. The plan has begun. The smallest one starts yelling at the centipede to follow the sound. It heard him and started to follow him quickly. He started to run away. At the last moment he managed to throw a bone and saw that it reacted to the sound. Next he saw it coming. It felt as if he had passed the hump and had just left. Let the germ know better. That's how you wave goodbye. My brother is at gunpoint because of you, he said. He replied, sorry for your sister, but don't worry, we'll do our best to comfort her later, he said, laughing. The brother tapped a bone and the centipede quickly started running there. As she crawled beside him, he said that as soon as he hit the acid pits he would ban them and kill them. They heard this and stopped and started attacking him. He didn't understand why he wasn't going for the sound. Herm closed the door and they started asking him where Ajurg was. What had happened? He said he made a little noise so it went after him. We lured him into the pits together, but the jerk got caught, so I locked them inside. He said he wasn't asking for a reward, so they'd just tell the wardens it was him that killed him. It was the best he could do to honor his memory, got to appreciate his bravery and nobility. I'm sorry. You did good, Herm, we won't forget it, they said. I'll just take my sister and go, he said. They left. His sister asked him what really happened. Did he really sacrifice himself? His brother said he had a little help, but who knew the centipede also tracked the scent. Sister said he got what he deserved. They came to eat. She did not understand what was wrong and why he did not want to eat. It was his favorite dish. She had even saved a head for him. She told him to eat it. As soon as he decided to try it, he quickly spat it all out on the floor. I knew it. After what happened in the acid pit. You're not Herm. What are you? You're a demon, said she with a gun in her hand. He told her to put the gun down and that he could explain everything. And how? Meron's powder. What? I'll mix the Meron powder we got last year at the sacred ceremony with water and drink it. It exorcises demons, right? If I start burning, you get your brother back. If nothing happens, I'm your brother. All right? She didn't know. He poured the powder into a glass of water and started drinking. He hoped that this powder that exorcises demons and spirits was just a fiction. If it wasn't, maybe it would go back to where it belonged. He drank it and got a little dizzy. Herm, what is it? Demons? She hit him and said he was an idiot. You keep calling me Herm. So you believe me? Huh, you really are a Herm. Well, now I believe you're my brother. But why are you being so weird? Ever since he got better, it's like you've become someone else, and please tell the truth this time. Herman's father once said something like that. Maybe telling her is the best I can do to find out more about what happened. He said he has memories of a past life and to be honest he doesn't know how it all happened himself. He felt he was in a void and then his body was carried away like a river. Then he found himself moving towards the ball of the universe. And after bumping into it he woke up in pain and with a lot of memories. That's all he knew. Do you know what that means? Ever since ancient times the gods and their wards have been reborn in the bodies of mortals. They have possessed powers no one could have imagined. From inhuman strength and charisma to the ability to change reality itself. You think I'm the chosen one? Of course you are. It's been a long time since I was chosen. Maybe you have some powers. Maybe you're fast or stronger than horses. Or you can jump far. But he couldn't do any of those things. Maybe he was lucky and was a lost soul. Lost souls were people who were born with past memories but no powers. Few people are famous, except those who have inherited the memories of great leaders or legendary masters. Then it turns out he is a lost soul. His sister told him not to tell anyone. If the others think you know of any treasure, I can't imagine what they might do to you. His sister said that if you have special powers he should not show them to anyone. He told her not to worry. He wouldn't tell anyone. That's why he didn't want to tell her. He didn't want her to worry anymore. So whose memories did she ask you about? You don't look very noble. He told her that he was not a noble man. They were memories from another life, from another society. I was a rebel. Someone who strove to make his society better. And what became of you? He made a mistake. He was killed by the nobles who were against him. She wondered if he was going to do something against the Blues. He said he was not a warrior with weapons and he did not command armies or mags. So he didn't think he would overthrow anyone. Mags? Who are they? Sister asked. Mags were like shamans but they were more methodical. Less about spirits and more about magical energy. Wait. You don't know magic, do you? Do you feel like I use it? No, I guess not. If he could use magic, she could feel it. That's why they keep us around. The gods can sense magic because of our bloodline. She wanted him to promise her that he wouldn't change anymore. He hugged her and said that no matter what happens I will always be your brother. His eyes brightened and he saw a rose in a vase. He was in hospital and was told that he had been shot in the chest but he had been saved and was in critical condition. He did not understand what had happened. Brutus was standing in front of him. So it was all a dream? They did not understand what he was dreaming. He smiled and said they wouldn't believe it. Said he was dreaming about an afterlife where he became a slave. I wasn't even human. Sounds unusual, they said. The guy closed his eyes and said he needed help. He needed to get out of bed immediately and go back to the squad. He looked at his hands and saw the scarecrow again. What a disappointment. It looked like it wasn't a dream. His friends had seen it all and said there was nothing they could do. They told him to find happiness in his afterlife. He replied that they couldn't be bothered. This world will no longer be the same after me. They said he would stay with you for the time being. It was Herm. He didn't understand what he was doing here. The guy told Herm that unfortunately there can only be one leader in the squad. So you gonna have to get some sleep. He replied that it was his body. He said he'll take care of it. We both know you can't change your life, but I can. You'll be remembered for a long time. He said he wanted to ask him to tell his sister the truth. He doesn't want to hurt her. He replied that he never had a sister, but he would take care of her as his own. He would make the world a better place. He thanked the guy. And in a moment he was with his sister. My sister said she couldn't believe he got up so quickly, cleaned up and still cooked dinner. And then someone called out to Herman. He was told he thought he was dead. It was cool. He was the minder. A friend of Herman Gorza's father. He had always looked after them since their parents had been killed 2 years ago in a beehive attack. It was strange to see such a good relationship between slave and overseer. But there were good people here too. Cool asked if it was true that he had helped defeat the centipede. He said he just ran faster than they did. He laughed and said it was a real Herm he knew. He said there was a lot to do today. And it was time to get to work. There's no room for idleness. The mushroom farm needs you. Scarecrows are standing in line and one of them starts talking. Can you believe it? He said all he had was his sister. And then I said we accept any kind of payment. So Rack throws him face down and says he's been told before that no girls. You work with us. They told him to let him go because if he hurts him, there'll be questions. The boss was very serious about the girls who worked here. His father died and his mother worked hard to feed the family. She got black spots. It was a disease that could be cured but took a lot of strength. The boss tried to find money to cure it, but all his clients left him. No greenie would admit to having fun with the Greys at the end of the day. The boss was very worried about that. He was told to calm down and if he didn't stop we would lose a lot of people. He said he told them everything and they could do whatever they wanted but not touch the girls. They understood, but sometimes the blood hits them in the head. The boss said he didn't want that kind of filth in the gang and to get the girls out of here. His gang couldn't exist without scarecrows. And we're already falling behind in numbers. And that's where Herman comes in. Look, the bug's back. And the bug found a drop of guts. I can never understand why you don't like him so much. Herman wanted to take food, but these demons were looking at him and wanted to taunt him. Suddenly when he closed his eyes, they were already lying on the floor and Vite appeared in front of him. Good deed will remain lawless. He had experienced its efficacy that day. Vite was not like him, but they were still brothers. But everything came to an end. Once, on an annual expedition into the deeper levels to sweep out hives and other pests, they were on guard with Vigra and his scarecrow. The goblins expected them all to die, but they worked hard enough in training to stay alive. They managed to kill a huge spider and saw a huge and beautiful tree. Once they set up camp and they organized us into reconnaissance units. Their group was sent to a distant land. At that time he was sent to the most dangerous place, and Vite asked to go with Olf. He wanted him to be safe, so he was glad he asked to go. And he was right. A squad of hives ambushed them, and they had to fight to the death to stay alive themselves. But Olf's group had been wiped out and there was no trace of the weight. They saw this and didn't care who captured him anymore. He was obliged to get his brother back. There were 2 scarecrows for each of us. But my scarecrows knew how to fight and theirs did not. That was their difference. But he turned out to be a blind fool. They fought and during the fight, they put a knife to his throat, and shouted for them to stop if they valued his life and they all stopped. He said he couldn't be his friend. Vigra made him a better offer. But we are brothers. Brothers? We weren't. You always had an easy time with girls. Friends. Strength. And all I could do was live in your shadow. And that's when I realized I had something more valuable. Something everyone wanted but couldn't have. It was your trust. And then I decided to use it to get what I wanted. Your favorite knife. He said he'd tell his sister how he died nobly saving the expedition from a hive attack. She's beautiful and has a great body. He was told that only idiots gloat before the victim dies. And they told him to hurry up and kill him. A warrior who died at the hands of his friend sounded pretty epic. I did a good deed and I'll take care of your business, he said, pointing the knife at the guy and bringing it towards him. But as soon as he wanted to kill him, the guy grabbed an axe and cut off his hands. He said he'd deal with him later. And ran to the other scarecrows who said to kill him. Vigra was finished and his scarecrows were destroyed. His brother begged that he should be spared. He said he had been framed and had no choice. The brother replied that then you should have killed yourself. He left him beside the huge bugs and walked away. Mercy is worth a lot. And he won't make that mistake again. It's all over now. The boss was told that maybe something had to be done. We can't leave Vigra's rubbish on our property. He replied that some scaremongers need to learn from their experience. Herm was told to leave or he would be killed now and no one would even miss you. They said he was nothing. He was one of those who refused to work for Virga. Everyone humiliated him and wanted to yell at him. They told him to get out of the way. But he said no. They started telling him that they would punish him. The guy pulled out a knife and swung it at him. And he said it's a bad idea to show your weaknesses to your opponent. Remember that in your next life. He's dead. He knew what he was doing. Killing one of Vigra's warriors would start the hunt. But even before that, he was a target. Are you sure you're not the target? We are all victims of your bullying and harassment. We are all born again. But we're all just slaves. And because of cowards like you, we suffer every day. Every week. We suffer. Our friends. Our parents suffer. We live in constant torment. But now I say no. That's enough. Who's with me? Who's ready to stand up to cowards and stop being a target? Who's ready to live? Yeah. Yeah. We've had enough. He's right. Get out of here and pick someone else. Leave us alone. You think because your idiot dared to kill the enemy you can despise us and do whatever you want. We're Vigra's scarecrows and no one will take us alive. And if you don't obey us, the Vigra will come himself. They took the boy's weapon from him and raised it up. Step forward, who is the bravest, and show yourselves. Let's see who you really are, they said. Everyone threw the stones they were throwing at them and started walking away. That's what he expected. You talk a lot, but don't do anything. You can't make a rat shiver. They are just kids and they think a few kind words can change the world. They said they'll wise up or die. We'll see what happens next. They started telling him he had a chance to beg for mercy. Weak. So what if we're weak? Doesn't mean we have to crawl in the mud and let you step on us. We won't stand for your bullying. We won't watch you make our lives a living hell. I refuse to live like this. When I was on the verge of death, I had my whole life in front of me, and you know what I saw. What did you see? Nothing, he said. Absolutely nothing. All I saw was a life that wasn't even worth a damn. A life where I worked every day for nothing in return. The life of a slave is not a life, it's hell. And I realized that if I'm already in hell, why don't I start fighting? Why should I lose? Together we can do the impossible. So I ask you to share your strength with me and I will share it with you. Everyone started cheering him on. And then they shouted at him to turn around. A scarecrow with a gun was flying at him and he almost hit it. But he was able to react in time. And hit him in time. The first is defeated. Who wants to be second? The second one was kicked. You see, brothers? Vigner's men are not so scary. They are outnumbered. Follow me and I swear he can never threaten us again. The chiefs have told Herm that they need to talk. Also his sister runs up to him and doesn't understand what he's wearing. Everyone is already talking about you. You condemned us to death by killing the enemy. He replied that it was just a necessity. She didn't understand why he was killing them. He answered to make friends. How does killing them help you to do that? Sit down, he said, and began to talk. We need allies to survive. There are only two top commanders in this part of the mines. They are Rak and Vigra. Rak was very strong, but Vigra had the trust of the overlords and their assistants, so the position is more advantageous. And if the scarecrows want to gain influence, then it would be more advantageous for them to join Vigra. But he has a lot of people, which makes the internal competition match. And I would end up being the servant who would have to die for him. With Rak it's different. He will consider you an ally as long as you bring some benefit. However, his position is weaker. So I decided to let him see what he wanted, and the moment I had something to offer him he came to me. Of course, things didn't go so smoothly. They had to destroy the enemy so he wouldn't just come back here tomorrow and do nothing to us. He said he'd done enough damage to Vigra, and showing mercy in this world cannot be a sin. We all hit bottom at some point and try to become stronger by any means necessary. Even some resort to desperate acts. It seemed to him that every scarecrow should have a second chance. After all, even at the deepest bottom it was possible to rise to the surface. Was he capable of it? He said he could. Honestly. I know it's hard for you to do, but we have to show that we're different from Vigra by letting this guy go. And you're a brave one, said Hemgall. He also said he could refer to him simply as Hem. Not many people were allowed to do that, and you will be one of them. Thank you, Hem. Would you please let him go? They asked the boss if they should let him go. He said yes, and they let him go. He got away. Herm said he'd lost his mind. No one could believe he let him go. Herm said they just lived in fear for a long time. And then a voice was heard. Have you finished that play yet? It was the warden. He came up to Herm and asked how his sister was. He said she was fine and he'd be sure to tell her about you. The warden said that the show was over and that they should get to work. The boss asked Herm if he was angry. He told him they were good friends, but they shouldn't be here too long. So they decided to go somewhere quiet where they could talk. In the end, Rak decided to take his side. He offered protection from Vigra and help in forming a faction. His sister asked what he would get in return. He said he would become his vassal and run a buffer zone between their territories. So you're the new gang boss now? Your wish was never whoever you were. I just can't protect anyone without gentle power. And since I can't achieve my goal alone, is looking for help from others. Including you, Gorza. She didn't realize if her brother was still in it. He replied that he was, and as much as it was a shame. He loves you. She told him to tell him his real name. There you go again. If I do this and suddenly turn out to be a demon, I have to run away from here. In order not to become your servant, he said. Sister told him to speak already or she will call a priest. Okay, he replied. My name is Leonard Iran van der Steen. Or just Leo. At this time the scarecrow they let go came running back to his gang.